Are feeding errors on your pastured pig operation driving up your feed costs? Are they keeping you from realizing a profit? Or in the worst case scenarios, creating a financial disaster for your farm? I'm Rob from Dowdle Family Farms, and I've been raising pastured pigs now for 7 years, and I have tried to save money on feed costs, and I have found some beautifully wonderful ways to save on feed costs, and I have found some ways that can create financial disasters if you're not careful. In this video, we're going to take a look at what we can do to start saving money on feed costs, especially once our pigs reach the 100-pound mark or so. I've spent a world of a lot of time over the last 7 years that we've been raising pastured pigs, not only trying to reduce our costs, but to increase the quality of our pork without spending so much time, energy, effort, and wear and tear on machinery chasing those free pig feeds. By far, the most important thing that you can do to save money feeding your pastured pigs is making sure that they receive a high quality, nutritious grain that's well balanced for them. Now, there are a world of a lot of different types and options for feed. Whether you're feeding conventional feeds, it's a soy, corn-based feed ration with a mineral pack, whether you're feeding an organic option or a non-GMO option, or maybe you're trying to feed a soy-free, corn-free feed, whatever the reason, you want to make sure that that nutritionally balanced feed is not only available, but is meeting the nutritional needs for your pigs. In the first video in this series, talking about feeding pigs that were weaning size, one of the things that I mentioned was a customer that had pigs that were literally starving to death because they could not get the nutrition that they needed because the lysine levels in his feed were too low. And he had gotten that soy-free feed, but it just did not have the lysine. In fact, it had about 40% of the lysine that it really need for those growing pigs. Now, once you get pigs that are 100 to 150 pounds like these right here, they can handle less nutritious feeds. In fact, that 15% grower with a 0.38% lysine would be fine for this gilt right here, or that one, because they could eat enough of that feed to not only survive, but even to thrive. The problem is, and either they'll consume twice as much feed or they won't grow as fast and they'll take longer to grow as well. Those pigs are just running around and having a blast over there. And in these situations, sometimes in pastured pig operations, when the pigs are running around and playing like these, they'll use more feed than they would in more of a confinement operation. For easy math, let's just say they consumed average 1,000 pounds of grain to get to that 300 to 350 pound market weight that we prefer. Pigs have roughly a 3-to-1 feed to weight ratio. So if they're going to eat about 3 pounds of grain, nutritionally balanced grain, they'll gain about 1 pound of weight. If the feed is not nutritionally balanced, like that feed with a lower lysine that my customer was using, they'll have to consume far more feed to get the lysine they need, even though the protein and the energy may be there. So rather than consuming 1,000 pounds of feed to get to market weight, they might have to consume 1,500 or even 2,000 pounds of feed to get to that market weight. If they have to consume 2,000 pounds of feed, he was paying $780 per ton. It would take $780 to get the pigs to that market weight rather than the $390 if they had only eaten 1,000 pounds of feed. Now, this example is a little bit extreme, and the math isn't quite as simple as I'm making it, but it does make the point that if you don't have a nutritionally balanced grain, the pigs will not have the greatest feed to weight conversion ratio, and it'll cost more to produce that meat. Now, the second way to save money on feed cost is to use a type of feeder that does not waste feed. For example, this feeder here I've put in since the last video was published last week. And pigs come in here and they root around, they get in there, and the feed drops down into this pan. This pan down here has a lip to keep the feed from bouncing out. When I have fed pigs in this feeder, I've noticed that I have a far greater feed to weight ratio, but I've also noticed that when I'm rationing the pigs feed, I often don't have an as efficient feeding source. Sometimes I'll take a bulk feeder, cut the legs off of it that I use for cows and lay it on the ground, and that's effective enough. But the problem that we run into with that is that if you have a lot of pigs in a small space, they'll fight over it. The pigs will get into the feeders and kick the feed out. And even though we're feeding the feed free choice here and the pigs will eat more, they'll still graze on pasture. They'll still eat the alternative feeds because they like that diversity of diet, but they're not wasting it as much. Occasionally, especially when we're weaning our piglets on the pasture, we do feed the pigs on the ground. That is very wasteful. The primary reason that we do that, however, is because when we're feeding the pigs on the ground, we want those piglets to come up and nurse with the moms. That way they get used to eating the grain, and then when we go feed them, it's easy enough for us to pick them up and wean them. Now, as pigs get to that 100-pound weight that you see, they have greater colons, their cecum, the pouch that helps them ferment their feed is larger. And in that process, what we find is that we have some flexibility for those less nutritious feeds because the pigs can handle a bulkier diet. They'll have to eat more feed, but if the feed is either free or if it's less nutritious, they'll be able to handle the additional bulk that a smaller pig cannot eat. Now, one of the most common alternative feeds that I hear people talk about are dried distillers grains, brewers grains, or just wet distillers grains because they're high in protein and pigs need protein. The problem with those is they're so low in lysine, they're really not very nutritious for pigs. Pigs also don't find them particularly palatable. In my limited experience using them and in the reports that I hear from others. Because of that, there's also no energy in them. They just don't care for them as much. It's also easy for them to mold, again, because they're wet. That's why I don't mess with it. It's also not very available to me. Pumpkins are another alternative feed that I hear people talk about a lot. If you can get pumpkins for free and they're delivered, feed the fire out of them. But remember, and this is, I've got videos detailing pumpkins more. A pumpkin is going to be about 7 to 15%, let's just say 10% dry matter. So 90% of the weight in pumpkins is going to be water. So if you're going to get 20,000 pounds of pumpkins, that's only the equivalent of about 2,000 pounds of feed. How much does it cost you to transport 20,000 pounds of pumpkins, to handle it, to maneuver it, and everything else? Those costs, the wear and tear on the equipment, the labor in terms of picking it up, loading it up, taking it off, unloading it, it is just wildly expensive. It's also high. And for most people, it's just not practical unless you're having your pumpkins delivered to your farm, and all you've got to do is throw them into the pig pens or the pastures for those pigs. There are other things like bakery waste items, dairy, and many others, and those are, I've got other videos on those, but they just produce a world of a lot of time and effort to bring those to the farms as well. This 100-pound mark, they can really begin processing much more of those nutritious forages that we can grow for them. Yes, they'll consume grass. They'll get some benefit, nutritional value out of the grass, but not nearly as much as you might think. But if we grow those more nutritious forages, things like peas, clovers, and other legumes, pigs love them, they perform really well on them, and they grow well on them. We've also got things like brassicas, are excellent forages for pigs. One of my favorites is to grow buckwheat. It's a warm season crop, and I'm here to tell you pigs love buckwheat. They love the grain, they love the plant matter. Buckwheat is only about 14% protein, but the lysine levels are much higher than most other crops. It is just one of my favorites. In fact, buckwheat and red clover, if you're equivalent, red clover has more protein, the buckwheat has more lysine, and in my observation, pigs will go after the buckwheat over the clover unless they've gotten tired of either the clover or the buckwheat. Raising pigs on pasture and saving money on feed costs, one of the best things that we can do. Again, make sure we have and are feeding a really nutritious feed that's designed for growing pigs. Make sure that you've got a good feeder, whether you're feeding free choice or whether you're feeding them and rationing them, making sure there's very little wasted feed on the pasture. Another thing that you can do is begin supplementing with these more nutritious feeds. You'll still need to give them a good balanced ration of grain designed for pigs with minerals, protein, lysine, and everything else, just to make up the deficits in those alternative feeds. But you can begin feeding and especially growing some of those more nutritious crops, and that's, in my observation, where we can save the most in terms of time, energy, and money raising our pigs on pasture, especially once they hit that 100-pound mark. Thanks for watching the video. If you got some value out of it, share it with others that you think may get some value out of it as well. In the next video, we'll talk about finishing pigs on pasture once they hit that 200 to 250 pound mark, and where you can produce some of the best, most outstanding pork. Y'all take care. Again, share this video with someone you think may get some value out of it. Take care and have a great day.